and welcome back to my channel, Men with Mare. Today is a lucky day for you all. I am finally going to be reading, well, actually listening to Lana's poetry book. I know a lot of you would like me to start in order, possibly. However, I was thinking about jumping around a little bit. I just got so struck by this one poem that I just read that I just feel inspired to just want to go to that one. And then I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'll stop after that and do another one because I want to give every poem a lot of care and a lot of attention. If you aren't familiar, this is her beautiful book. I'm in awe of it. It's beautiful. And it makes me like, I really want a beautiful book too. I mean, this is beautiful in its own way, but you know, I'm actually not a red fan, but I feel like red goes with the content. Yeah, but enough about that. I just was struck by just the beauty of what it looks like. All right, so the one that I want to do first, well, first of all, can we talk a little bit about this book because it is so unique. All of the different pictures and the way I appreciate the style. I love the typewriter font, but I also love it. There's little places where she made notes and edits, and I love that on one side she'll have that edited one, and then the other side just clean. And I love this one. It's like, this is so, I relate to this, where it's like there's a stain that got on the paper, but they still went ahead and printed it like that. And I love things that have beautiful flaws because I don't know. I think that if it's too perfect, it's not,
It's just not as beautiful.
It's called My Bedroom is a Sacred Place Now. There are children at the foot of my bed. Instead of reading it, I'm going to play Lana because it's got a whole feel of it's got its own feel to it. Hearing her read it, hearing the sounds in the background, the music, it's really awesome. So let me get that going. Okay.
Last year, when I wrote you my last letter, the beginning of my future poetry, I acknowledged who you really were for the first time. I didn't call you by any other name. I let you know that I knew the true nature of your heart, that it was evil, and that it convinced me that darkness was real, that the devil is a real devil, and that monsters don't always know that they're monsters.
Okay. This is just bothering me because when I'm reading along, it says that it convinced me that darkness is real, that the devil is a real devil, and she said that darkness was real. I wonder if she meant to change that or if that's just how she read it. Let me see if there's any other versions of it. No. But already I think that she's speaking to a lover and seeing them for who they are and not the person that we create them to be in our head. I feel as if she's talking about her past lover, acknowledging him for all he really was. And she's coming to terms with the fact that he's not really the best person. Let me start that over again.
Last year, when I wrote you my last letter, the beginning of my future poetry, I acknowledged who you really were for the first time. I didn't call you by any other name. I let you know that I knew the true nature of your heart, that it was evil, and that it convinced me that darkness was real, that the devil is a real devil, and that monsters don't always know that they're monsters. But projection is an amazing thing. After you left and burnt the house down, you tried to convince me it was I who was holding the matches. You told me I didn't know who I was, but I do. I love rose gardens. I plant violets every time someone leaves me. I love the great sequoias of Yosemite. And if you asked my sister to describe the first thing she thinks of when she thinks of me, she would say campfire smoke. I'm gentle. I'm funny when I'm drunk, but I haven't been drunk for 14 years. I go on trips with my friends to the beach who don't know that I'm crazy. I can do that. I can do anything. Even leave you. Because my bedroom is a sacred place now. There are children at the end of my bed, telling me stories about the friends they pretend to hate that they will make up with later. And there are fresh cut flowers that I grew myself in vases from the yard on nightstands, hand carved by old pals from Big Sur. And the longer I stay here, the more I am sure that the more I step into becoming a poet, the less I will fall into being with you. The more I step into my poetry, the less I will fall into being with you. The more I step into my poetry, the less I will fall into bed with you.
Wow. I relate to this on so many levels, so many. I guess before I share that, I want to talk a bit about how projection is an interesting thing. I think that she's acknowledging that this person that she likely idealized is actually someone that she should be weary of and fear that is a monster and doesn't know that they are. And they're projecting onto her that she doesn't know herself and she was the one that burned the house down, when in actuality, he's the one. But he tried to convince her of it. And if you watch my video on healing from narcissistic abuse, I talk about this a lot. And I think Lana, now knowing the situation with her mother and everything, I think that she's definitely dealt with that. And I think that, history repeats itself, and sometimes we choose partners that resemble our parents. I think that he was using the term gaslighting on her to make her think that she was crazy and that she didn't know who she was. And this seems like she stepped into her power and she's saying, but I do know who I am. And she said fire smoke, but in this one, she says the first thing my sister would describe me as is wood smoke. And I think that that's funny because it's like a play on burning the house down. But yet, she wasn't that one. It's like she's been singed, but she also is powerful. That's my impression. It might not be what she intended, but that's what's cool about art, is that it is up for interpretation, and that's how I see it. It is disappointing because in the sense that I think that this person really wore down her self-esteem, or maybe she was with them during a time when she wasn't her best, even though she says, I'm gentle, I'm funny when I'm drunk, though I haven't been drunk for 14 years. So I think she's saying that she knows that she isn't. That darkness that she spoke of before, that convinced me that darkness is real, is how she feels. Like the darkness maybe stole her laughter, or that she can't have it yet without a drink. I'm funny when I'm drunk. No, I haven't been drunk for 14 years. Maybe she's reflecting back, like, is that really the truth? Is she funny when she's drunk? Though I haven't been drunk for 14 years. So sometimes with time, you lose your grasp on what you were actually like. It gives me the feeling like it's just been that this person really burned her, felt like it stole part of her, and also was mixed in with addiction, like drinking. And I'm proud of her for going 14 years. That's amazing. But when she says she goes to to the beach with friends who don't know that I'm crazy, she's basically saying that I can do that. I can do anything that she wants, anything that she desires. So it's really hard because, with light, with healing, you also will carry the opposite in you, because I don't think that one can exist without the other. Until I came to terms with that, I really struggled, because sometimes you have to be faced with the darkness in order to know how strong you really are, and to stand in the truth of who you are, and to let this person know. Then she says, my bedroom is a sacred place now. There are children at the foot of my bed. Whether I don't think it's her children, it doesn't matter. There's children there. It's a safe place. She's going to protect it. Even though she says, telling me stories about friends they pretend to hate that they will make up with tomorrow, it shows their youth, but also how they're like her, or how she's like them. And maybe she's been too forgiving in the past. Ending is what really gets me. So there are fresh cut flowers that I grew myself in vases on nightstands, hand carved by my old pals from Big Sur. And the longer I stay here, the more I am sure that the more I step into being a poet, the less I will fall into being with you. So the more that she steps into who she really is and what she loves, living in your authentic truth or in your power means she won't be craving or needing someone who doesn't treat her right, because really her cup will be filled up. The more I step into my poetry, the less I will fall into being with you. The more I step into becoming a poet, the less I will fall into bed with you. When I say I really deeply, maybe I should just read it. All right, I hope you all don't think I'm making this about me. But again, I know it's my channel, but I think I want to read from my book to help you to understand why I relate to that last part. I think speaking the truth and writing the truth on paper helped me to move on and cope with my situation, but it also allowed me to see things for what they really were, for how they really were. And it helped me gain an identity that I didn't know was so important to me. But more than that, I have this part in my book where I talk about my bed. And when she talks about her bedroom and I talk about my bedroom, it feels just weirdly aligned that I should read it. Okay, I'm gonna do it. All right, it is in chapter 2, I'm pretty sure, and it is called Knife in My Chest. That's the name of the chapter. Okay. It's not super long. It's like 3 pages. Oh man. Sometimes I think I am emotionally masochistic to write this and read this right now, but at the same time, I think that it aids in my healing and frees up more room inside of me. All right. So, grief will always find you. I'm alone with our son, who has just crawled into bed with me. His body is pressed tightly against mine, with his arms snuggled around my neck. As I try to gently move my son to make more room for myself, I accidentally knock over my cup of water on the bedside table. It never fails. I always seem to drop or spill things. I skillfully move to the floor without making noise, feeling around for the laundry basket in the darkness, remembering that I just threw a dirty towel in before bed. On my hands and knees cleaning up my mess, I am unsure if all the water is gone. Frustrated, I feel around the bed for my phone to shed some light. As I search, I pause. There is a notable dip in the mattress pad where my body had just lay. I flatten my hand, moving it slowly from side to side. I can't believe how indented it has become. You can really feel the shape of my body, I think to myself. After confirming the floor is dry, I decide to walk to the other side of the bed since moving my son is clearly too much. I lift the blankets, expecting to sink into the bed, but it remains firm with no dip. Since the beginning of our relationship, my husband and I have each claimed a specific side of the bed. I'm on the left and he's on the right. Laying here, I'm immersed in the odd sensation of being on his side and wonder why it took me so long to switch. It's as if we remained on our designated sides, holding on to hope that he would choose us over the bottle in the basement. My son cries out and reaches over to where I was just laying, noticing that I'm not in my usual spot. I reassure him that I'm still here by taking his hand and placing it on my face. Seconds later, I feel his body twitch, signaling that he's fallen back asleep. Since he was a baby, whenever he slept between us, he would spread his arms out and examine our faces with his little fingers, feeling the outline of our noses and mouths to ensure he was still with us. It was such a sweet sensation that we both loved. The memory washes over me and I begin to weep. I cry, realizing he no longer reaches out to both sides of the bed. I count back in my head and realize it's been months since the three of us slept together as a family. The pain of this memory overtakes me. It feels like someone is slowly shaving off the skin above my heart. Memories pour down on me, and flashes of our marriage counseling sessions start to hit me, filling me with sadness. I can't determine whether I'm awake, half awake, or in a full-on nightmare. I'm now sitting next to my husband, though we aren't looking at each other. I can smell his cologne, which he uses to mask the alcohol. As he speaks, I distinctly hear, or remember hearing, my husband describing how he had become bored in life. A feeling which the marriage therapist said was common. At the moment, it feels as if the memory is being replayed verbatim, but the difference is that I now have a sword. Every time he says bored, I grab the sword and stab it quickly into my chest. No one notices the blood leaking from me. No one is at all concerned with my pain. I try to speak, but I can't. They both carry on. As the therapist describes how addiction can change the pleasure receptors in the brain, providing him with context around why he feels this way. I just stare down at the sword in my chest. It's painless, so I slowly twist the blade around as if it's a game and then look out the window in a daydream. My son wakes again, pulling me into the present world. I can tell that sleeping in the spot saved for Daddy is throwing him off, so I pick him up and move him to the other side of me so that we are both laying where Daddy once was. He touches my face again, and moments later he's calm. With this sweet little boy and his gentle hands touching my face, giving me so much comfort and love, I agonize over the question, how could he ever be bored of this? Sorrow and anger rise from deep within my being. How could he take this for granted? I think I'm drifting back to my nightmare when I find myself grabbing the sword from my chest and feeling proud of my open wound as blood gushes out. I get on a chariot and fly at an enormous speed, pointing my sword forward into the darkness and screaming at the top of my lungs. The scene I experience is reminiscent of Mad Max. My hair is coming off my head from the sheer speed. My eyes bulge and I continue fearlessly into the abyss. My movements and painful sobs, which have increased in volume, awaken me. I fumble with my phone, eventually activating the white noise app. I crank up the volume, ensuring I don't disturb my son as I finish my wailing. I'm too weak to make it to the bathroom to cry. My body convulses in bed until I'm too exhausted to cry anymore. Then I drift off as blood soaks the bed and my clothes. By morning, I woke to find my hair wet and my clothes stuck to me from sweat. I also noticed that both of us had gravitated back to the left side of the bed. Okay, that was harder than I thought it would be. There's another part of the book where I go back to that. The bedroom is such a sacred place, and my child was in it too. And whether it's your biological child or not, any children that are in there, it just changes everything. And more I read it, the more I am very clear in why I did what I did and making the choice that I never wanted to make. Okay, I'm going to take a breather and then I'll do another one. Maybe not today. Maybe later today. But I have to say that this is why art and poetry is so incredible. Because even though it's Lana's story, it relates to my story and it makes me feel less alone to hear her poem. And I'm very grateful that you all recommended this book, this poetry book. All right. Sending you all love.